support the country because they're good at following.
Yeah.
Yes. You need yes people to keep things going.
But I think
yes people also tend to fall into a trap of following the wrong people then, because they don't know any better and they're just yes people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they need that level of leadership to be able to say, no, this is wrong, and I'll be going in a different direction.
I think we all follow it.
Hello and welcome to this afternoon. We're talking to the Vodacom Discover Graduates of 2014. Yes, now before this afternoon I wasn't actually very sure what you all did. So I'm going to ask you to explain everything to us. Yes, Kabelo, come. Talk to us. Tell us, what is the Vodacom Discover Graduate Program?
I'm Kabelo Khodani. I'm one of the Vodacom Discover Graduates of 2014. So the Vodacom Graduate Program is a program that aims to attract young people in South Africa, and it aims to take these young people and see that they become leaders in whatever field.
What age is a young person then?
A young person.
Yes, I mean, I could say a 29-year-old is a young person.
Well, I mean, if you are if you are in your final year of university, and irrespective of what degree you are studying, you fall under that category of a young person, and then you have the opportunity to join the Vodacom Discover Graduate Program.
Okay.
So,
and what do you do in that program?
In this program, you have the opportunity to build yourself. So you get the opportunity to go through a lot of training. There's a lot of technical training that you go through. I mean, seeing that we are an ICT company, you get to learn about the network. What is the network?
So
what does that have to do with you, and what role you will be playing in that? And I think another important part that comes in there is being able to see yourself with the future of Vodacom. So you get the opportunity to have departmental rotations of your choice, to work
to learn in those different areas,
and literally work, because it's not just about just floating and learning, but you actually work, and you get
so you
to
are
build
actually
something.
paid at the end of the month.
You are.
So it's a real job, but it's like a trainership or an internship almost. Yes, and with a specific driver of ICT or the Vodacom industry.
Yes, definitely. So the program really just has transformed us today, into young leaders, and we definitely look forward to the future of ICT and of Vodacom.
Oh, fantastic. Now that we know what the program is, why don't you all introduce yourself? We'll start with you, Kabelo, because you've started, you know how to speak into a microphone. Go for it.
I'm Kabelo Khodani. Like I said, I'm a Vodacom Discover Graduate of 2014. I'm, part of the program. I have a role in Vodacom. I'm a specialist now in online products.
Okay.
And I studied IT management at the University of Johannesburg.
Yes.
And I graduated last year.
So we're talking to matrics today who are writing their exams. Do you want to tell us where you went to school?
Yes, so I went to school at the German school in Pretoria. Almost all my life, really.
Oh, really? Do you speak German?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I do. So I've been there since grade 4 up until matric.
Okay.
So, yes.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Nomolongelo.
Hey.
Yes, hello, welcome. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Nomolongelo Biela, and I'm from KZN. I matriculated in Masbumbane High School. It's a boarding school, a little bit far from home.
Where was home?
Home is in Richards Bay.
Okay.
Wisconsin, yeah. So, been independent for a very long time. And then I studied a BSc Actuarial Sciences at WITS. And it's pretty much my passion right now, so I'm very happy with that. And I'm now working in an insurance the insurance company at Vodacom.
Okay.
And that's basically what I'm doing, being an actuary in the making.
And you look young to be an actuary.
Well, I'm not qualified yet. Hence the in the making.
I always
Aspiring.
imagine actuaries to, have a walking stick and
Oh
some
no,
grey
see
hair.
the modern actuaries, hey,
should
very
see the walking
stylish,
stick.
Yes.
vibrant, very, 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 very young.
So it's a good career to go into.
It is very, like, I'd recommend it.
Lots of maths,
Not as much as you'd think. Lots
really?
of stats.
lots of stats. And of course, don't do much of that in high school.
No, you don't.
No.
But it's still fun.
Good. Tabelo.
Hi.
Hello.
So, I'm originally from Limpopo. I grew up here in Joburg in a small township. I matriculated in Venda High School. I graduated this year in BSc Information Technology, and I'm currently pursuing a career in security.
Aren't there a lot of males in that industry?
There are a lot of males.
So how did you cope studying with all of them?
I think it actually motivated me. It actually
really?
did motivate me, knowing that I'm a female and I'm continuing to push in it. And it's been a motivation because every time you walk into maths, you walk into different subjects, and it's just males. And sometimes it feels so weird at times, but it hasn't stopped me from remaining, knowing that at least I'm going to be one of those women who are pushing it in science and who are going ahead and getting my qualification.
Did you find a lot of stereotypes attached to you?
At times, yes. At times, yes, definitely.
And how did you cope?
I'd never let it get to me. It's sometimes when people are negative about something, you need to just tell yourself, let's prove them wrong, let's get it right, and let it be you who's one of those people who got past the whole stereotyping and everything. And now I can stand and say I had a Bachelor of Science degree, and at the same time, it's information technology. It's mainly male. It's been a male. It's like even now in the working industry,
Yes.
I get there and it's like, for now, for instance, I rotated in a department at Vodacom, and it was basically 3 females, including myself. So it was males everywhere. But at the same time, it keeps on empowering us as women still.
Yes.
It's really exciting.
Yes. And Kia, tell us about yourself.
Yes, I grew up in Rustenburg in a little township called Klavade, and did most of my early learning there. And I also part of the Vodacom graduate program, and how I got into that is that I got a Vodacom bursary in my second year in university.
And how do you get a Vodacom bursary? Or how did you get yours?
How I got mine is that I applied literally 2 days before the closing date. I don't even know if it got to them on time. But yes, I applied for the bursary program and they called me for an interview. I went to the interview at Vodacom in Midrand, and after that got the news that I got the bursary.
So those kinds of bursaries, I think all of you were bursary candidates.
Yes.
Are they based on your marks in matric or on your marks in varsity or on your marks at some point? Are they based on marks or
Yes, they
personality or?
They are.
Definitely based on your marks. They expect great marks for maths and science in matric, and if you apply when you're already in varsity, they also expect an average of 65%, I think, for your subjects in university. So it is quite competitive, and they do expect great marks from you.
Yeah. But just to add on to that, I think it's about you as the individual as well. I think Vodacom really recognizes that we are not all the same. We're not all manufactured from some factory where we get great marks. But it's all about you and what you bring to the table.
Yes.
So with your marks, you need to show up and really impress them.
Your marks are that knock on the door.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's open, you need to sell yourself.
Yeah.
So
That's
if you don't have the
fantastic.
marks, you can't even knock.
Write that down somewhere. Your marks are the knock on
Yeah.
the door, but after that it's up to you, your
Yeah.
personality, who you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is exactly right. It's,
Yeah.
yes, difficult getting far if you don't have good marks. I'm not going to tell you how I know that. But anyway, now all of you have had bursaries. Do all bursary candidates go on to this program?
No. Not all of them.
Okay.
So, I mean, in our year, I'll just give you our experience. So, some of us had our 3-year degrees, and some other of our peers who are doing 4-year degrees are probably still finishing up this year.
Okay.
So, you have the choice to either join the program after your 3-year degree, or if you'd like to do your honors and stay another year in varsity, you are allowed to do that. But I know some of us, I know Kia, Tavi, all of us actually, had our 3-year degrees, then got onto the program, and we are now doing our honors, part-time.
So that's hard
as
work,
we work.
working and studying at the same time.
But
there's also an application, an interview process to get onto the program.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There are many people out there who are writing matric this year who are studying and working at the same time. It's hard work.
Difficult.
It is.
It really but a lot of discipline needs to go into it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because you don't have the leisure of time all the time. So
it's much easier when you're studying full time.
It is.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, we've got some questions. You've all got very interesting stories, but it becomes a bit boring to sit and listen to this story, then that story, and that. So what we've done is we've drawn up some questions, and we're going to go through them and find out what your responses are, and hopefully all of your interesting stories will come out and inspire the people who are watching. The first one says, describe the moment where you knew what you wanted to be or do. Any takers?
I have a moment. I think for me, my moment was growing up. I grew up in an informal settlement, and most of the time we had electricity now and then. So there were times where mainly we relied on a generator at the time. So there was a time where I was going through my exams, and at that stage I had to study with a candle. And it's different studying with a candle than studying with light, because your eyes get tired because you have to focus more, because sometimes you can't see your whole book at the same time. So it was then when I was tired, I knew I still had to study. And I knew that I'm tired and I can't push my eyes any further. And at that moment, I knew that I cannot grow up and then come back to this kind of life where my kids are studying with a candle at the same time. And that's when that's where my dream began. That's when I knew that no matter what, I need to study hard, and I need to follow what they say, that education is the key to life. It actually has been the key to life in my life, because at that moment I took a step to say I'm going to reach that key and I'm going to unlock new possibilities for myself. Yeah. So that was my moment, definitely.
Yeah. So if you were running off a generator, how did you end up studying IT?
I actually went to it was a women conference where I went, and they were inspiring young women, telling them about technology and different things. And at that moment, I started getting an interest. Actually, that's why I'm so interested in young women who go into technology. I saw other women who went into technology and engineering and all these fields that lack women inside them. And that's where I then got so passionate about doing something that's so different, unlike going and becoming a nurse or becoming something else that most women do go into. And I thought, let me challenge myself. And that's when I decided I want to go into technology. It's something that's growing also in South Africa. And I think that's why I decided that I'm going to study a degree within technology.
Okay. Did you do any kind of technology in your matric?
I actually did not. I wish I had. I didn't do any technology in my matric. My high school didn't have, there's IT now.
Yes.
And I'm hoping all the matriculants that are going into those fields actually work hard and don't give up. Varsity is hard in that field, but you can make it, you can do it, and nothing is stopping you. It's all up to you at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think I want to touch on something there, and that is that you didn't have IT as a matric subject, and yet you pursued a career in that field. And so there might be someone out there who doesn't have, let's say, physics, but wants to become a biochemist later, or physical science, but wants to become a biochemist. They can still do that. There are still doors open to them after school. You can do bridging courses and things like that.
I think what's important is that even when I go to university, there were people who had done IT within matric, but nothing is stopping you. If you're ambitious and you want to do it, you can still go and choose whatever you want to do. All you have to do is put in the hard work. It was harder for me because I had to learn everything they did from grade 10 to grade 12.
Sure.
I had to literally learn how to program from the first day that I got into varsity. But at the same time, I finished my degree record time with the same people that had done IT before. So nothing is stopping you. It's all up to you at the end of the day. You can still do it. Whether you have that physics now, all that matters is, do you have a plan? What do you want? And don't let anything discourage you.
And it's like Kia said, the marks are the knock on the door.
Yes. I was just going to agree with Tavi there about the marks. I mean, it's all about what you make in matric. Like if you make sure you give it your all, after that, the world is your oyster.
Yes.
Really.
Whatever you want, you can actually get. So it's all about giving it your all right now. Right now is what matters.
Yes. Yes, it is very true. And of course, those matric certificates follow you everywhere.
Yes,
Everywhere you go.
Yes.
they do.
Everywhere you
In
go.
10 years' time, they'll be asking for that matric certificate. It really is the foundation.
Yes, and even though you all have amazing degrees, it puts my degree to shame. Amazing degrees, you're still talking about producing your matric certificate.
Yes.
So it's not something you can just say, oh well, I'll just get my degree afterwards and no one will ask for it. Yeah.
It follows you.
Would you like anyone else like to speak about the moment, or shall we go on to the next question?
I think, my moment, I never really knew what I wanted to do, but I think growing up, just like Tavi, I had an aunt who was in the field of IT. She's a software analyst, and every time she spoke about what she does, I used to think, wow, I want to do that. I mean, she was a tester at the time, and I used to love games a lot. So I thought, oh my gosh, imagine like waking up every day and going to play games. I want to do that.
Who wouldn't?
I mean, today I don't wake up to go play games, but the field of IT is definitely very broad, and just like any other field, really, it's about where you go, and then when you get there, there's so much that you can do.
Yes.
And so that's how I got into this IT space. That's how I knew I wanted to do what I'm doing.
You know, when you're studying matric, you have a whole lot of subjects. I think they write 6 subjects, and the 7th is life orientation. And it's like a whole variety. But then when you go into varsity and you choose that field that just inspires you, it's like a whole new world has opened up.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
The next question says, describe a moment of failure.
Oh my gosh.
I think I'm going to take this one.
Yes.
So growing up, I used to love debating, and I was pretty good at it, And I remember that before the failure, I had never lost a single debate, and I'd been speaker of the day for at least 80%. So it started feeling normal. And then one day we go into this competition, it was a national competition, and we misread the question.
Okay.
And
I'm going to stop you there because I don't know very much about debating. So you have a question that you
it's
need
like a
to
statement,
answer.
and then you either go for it or you're against it.
So you're arguing for or
Yes.
against a statement.
That
Okay.
statement that's there. And we misread it, and we were like, quick, we're like, we got this, we moved on. And when the debate finishes, the judges say, we lost. And we're the ones who made a mistake. It was like the shock of my life. I'm like, how did I miss that? And it was really bad. I actually went into a phase where I wasn't debating for 6 months, and I kept telling people it's because, no, I'm coaching now. But it was actually because I was really wounded. And I think going back, what that experience really taught me is, it's great when the world tells you you're great, but it's only really helpful if the world is confirming what you already know.
Yeah.
And I feel like after I got back into debating, I did better. I actually lost, I think, another debate after that, but it was because this is what I love, and I'm good at it, and I'm doing it for me. And so I enjoy it. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned. And read the question, obviously. Don't rush through things.
Yes.
Take time.
That's a really good exam tip, by the way.
Exactly.
Read the
For exams. Read the question, guys. Don't answer the wrong question.
So it took you time to recover,
Yeah, it did. It took me quite a while.
but you didn't give up.
No,
That
I didn't
recovery
even leave.
time is difficult, though.
It
isn't. It really isn't fun. It isn't something you enjoy, especially when you love that thing you're doing so much you can't completely remove yourself from it. Because I was
Yeah.
still coaching. So it wasn't very easy.
Yeah.
But you get through it. That's the thing about anxiety. It always fades. It comes to an end at some point.
Yeah.
That's also a great one. Kia, you were talking earlier about failure.
Yes. Well, in university, in my first year, we had to take calculus, and it was a nightmare. I think it was the maths you learn in high school. They teach you 10% of what calculus actually is.
Yes.
Then you get to varsity and you have to literally fend off dragons in calculus. So in my first year, I just about passed it. And
By just about, do you mean failed?
No, 50%.
50%, okay.
Yes, 50%. And I hated the subject. And so in my second year, I had to do it again, and I failed it. And it was horrible. It was a horrible, horrible feeling. Because I'm like, I never wanted to fail a subject in varsity, and here I am failing calculus. And then I realized the following year comes, and I have to repeat the subject, and I was just like, something needs to change. So I took time and actually just tried and analyzed what went wrong and what happened, and I realized that my attitude towards maths sucked. It was really bad, and I never gave it the time of day because I hated it so much. But when I actually took time and tried to understand concepts and just try and get help as well from other people who knew better, from tutors, because they avail themselves to you. And just getting help really helped me a lot, and I actually managed to get a distinction in the subject.
Sure.
Whereas I had failed it completely before. So just changing my mindset and not being afraid to ask for help when I needed it. That got me through that moment.
That's
It's
true.
quite a lot, though, to ask for help, because it's almost like you're admitting that you're not good enough.
Yes. And that is also part of that failure healing process. You actually realize that you do not know at all.
You know, it actually
Sometimes-
reminds me of a quote that I like when he says, "If I've been able to see further than others, it's because I was standing on the shoulders of giants." We need people. We need help from time to time.
That's true.
And
And I think sometimes it takes failure for you to change your ways. I know
Yes.
Tia spoke about her attitude. Like sometimes it really does take a really bad experience for you to change your ways. And
So there
it
might
really
be a
does
matric
good.
out there who's sitting with their geography paper right now, or not with it, but studying and going, "Oh, I hate this subject. I really hate it." And as a result of that attitude, they're not applying themselves 100%.
you shut down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As if
That's true.
that subject is the most difficult thing in the world, but it's just because your attitude towards it is horrible.
So find a way to enjoy it, and
Yes.
find people who will help you without making you feel stupid.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's true.
that's very
That's
important.
Yeah.
Because those people, they've managed somehow to find joy or understand that subject in a way that you don't. So, just going up to them and just humbling yourself and just...
And it's really important to hear these kinds of lessons from women like yourselves who have come so far. I mean, you're all still quite young. I'm not saying I'm old. And yet you have succeeded in these fields, which are very difficult. So to show that even people who do well, fail, is important, because otherwise...
It is. If at first you don't succeed, call it version 1.1. I mean, you will get it right at some point. And I think for matrics, it's in South Africa, we're very fortunate, because if at first you don't really get the mark that you wanted, you can try again, upgrade your marks, and then eventually get into the stream that you've always wanted to get into. So,
You
I'm not saying
rewrite.
relax now, but
No.
do your best.
It's expensive.
Yeah, do your best, your absolute best. But if you feel that you need to, there's area of improvement, you can still do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once again, it's a knock on the door.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, shall we move on to the next one? If you could do it all over again, what would you change? It's pretty open-ended. It means anything.
Sure, it does.
Over again.
Study smart. If I had to do high school all over again, I'd learn to study smart instead of harder. Because
Explain that, because there are many people who are studying very hard at the moment and not smart.
there's a difference when you study all night and there's a period of that all night where your brain really is not functioning and you're not absorbing anything. And there's knowing that, okay, at certain times in the day I'm more productive. So in the morning I can go through 2 chapters, unlike trying to do 1 chapter all night. So I just go back and actually try and study smarter than harder.
So it's about knowing you.
Yes, it is
Yes.
about knowing yourself and understanding when are you most productive. Your study methods as well, learning that which study methods work for me, because what works for Cabello or Norma might not work for me. So just trying to find that out.
And I think it's also about being open to experimenting and to hear what other people are using to study. For instance, some people, you actually find that you learn better with pictures. And instead
Yes.
of writing notes, you should be writing boxes and circles with mini notes in them to remind you of what you're actually studying. So it is about being willing to try something else to see what it is that works for you.
Also, the position you're in when you study affects how you.
Yes.
So there are some people who work really well at a desk and paper. There are other people who learn really well standing up, and forcing them to sit down, it
Doesn't work.
no.
Yeah, that's true. Introspection. I think maybe you need to sort of introspect, understand what works for you, and use that, because it's no point trying to use something that is going to excel at, but really it's not going to help me. You know what I mean? So it's very important.
But back to the question: if you could change something, would you? And what would you change?
Well, I actually have something that I would go back and change. I remember when we were in matric, actually, that I felt a lot of the time that the people in my class weren't taking things as seriously as they ought to. And I feel like if there was something I could change, I could probably just go back and instead of just thinking it and hinting at it, said it outright. Guys, you need a wake-up call. You're not going to get into medicine with a 60. It's not possible. You need to put in the work. It's great to have dreams, but we need to take them seriously and act on them and make them goals so we can reach our destination.
Sure. Difference between a dream and a goal.
Yeah.
Yes. Carry on. I interrupted.
I'm just saying that, I'm a big believer in dreaming and having visions, but I feel like a dream shouldn't remain a dream. It must evolve.
Yes.
It must become a vision. You must see it. Then you must make it goals or a big goal and then work hard to achieve it. Work smart to achieve it.
And know the path you're going to take.
Yeah.
You
'Cause
can't
honestly-
get to a point if you don't know how you're
Yeah.
going to get there.
Because it's important to know where you're going, because if you don't know where you're going, anyway will take you there.
Yeah, that's true.
So dream,
That's another
yes, but
difference.
work hard.
Yeah, that's another
to get
difference
there.
between dreams and goals. Whereas dreaming, you can just sit and think about it all day.
Yes.
But when there's a goal, you get to do to-do lists. That's
Yes.
when, there's action required. So I think, knowing that difference is important.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, shall we move on to the next question?
Yes.
Yes. And Dylan's going to pull it up for us. Dylan is running the show behind the scenes for us. And it says, if procrastination were an object, what would it be?
A big elephant in every room.
I actually imagine like a harness, something tying you to like a giant, massive rock. So
Maybe
you
we
can't
should define
move.
what procrastination is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's putting it off till tomorrow or later. It's doing
It's the later
tomorrow
disease.
or later what you should be doing today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Putting it off until the pressure is so much that you actually finally forced to do it. Deadlines. I can actually just imagine, those chicken licking ads with the monkey.
With the monkey.
Yes.
Yes, procrastinate. It keeps on growing because the closer you get to the deadline and to when you're sick, it's actually
It's so massive.
Yeah.
Oh, the pressure building.
Yeah.
You're being very quiet, Tebelo.
I'm actually thinking that with the matriculants that are going into the exams now, they might have been procrastinating all along now. You might have been saying you'll catch up with that and this. I think what's important is to know that now is not the time to be procrastinating anything. If you can study, if you can do something, take that moment, because this is the last time that you can change those results. So I think giving it your all, not saying I'll do it tomorrow, because time is limited. Before you know it, you're done with it, and rather do it now and do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Completely agree. Let's move on to the next question. And it says, how do you motivate yourself to do something boring?
Always keep the goal and the end in mind.
Yeah.
The bigger picture. That's the only thing that gets me through doing something boring, a boring subject, or whether it's boring work.
But it kills you a little inside as you do it.
That's
it really
true.
does. But when you think of where do I need to go, what do I need to get, and that bigger picture, if that's not more important than what you're going through right now, then maybe yeah, you need to reconsider your priorities. But if you know that what you need to get to, the bigger picture is more important than this moment of, this is so boring, I don't want to do this. You are able to actually just get through that because you know how important the bigger picture is.
Yeah.
Or how pretty the bigger picture is.
And sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order to do what you want to do. So that's what
a lot of do's. Say
Say
it again, please.
Sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order for you to do what you want to do.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not all roses.
It's not. Remember, like it's all one big journey, and it's not about the milestones. Yes, the milestones are there, but to get to each milestone, you have to do something in order for you to do what you want to do. That's how it is.
So to motivate yourselves, you look at the bigger picture,
And
that's all you.
Goal in mind, the end, the destination. Yes, the journey might not be great right now, but maybe after the next destination, the new journey might not be.
So you break it up into manageable bits.
Yeah.
Do you reward yourself at the end of doing a manageable bit?
Definitely. And something else that I do is I try and approach things with this mentality that nothing is all bad. That I can, if I look hard enough, if I open my eyes, probably find something in this thing that I'm doing that I can probably enjoy.
Yeah.
And maybe the fun is searching for it. So let's keep doing this until we find it.
True. And sometimes, maybe when you just think about driving that Ferrari, one day it all makes sense again. So
I saw a pink Lamborghini the other day.
Oh, we saw
On our way here.
Oh my word, yes.
Beautiful.
So now it all makes sense.
Yes. Let's move on to the next question. And Dylan's pulling it up, and it says, share a quote or a saying that keeps you going. Okay, I did prep you all about this, so you've got your pieces of paper in front of me.
I already shared mine.
Well, I have one from Asiya Kuza. He says, be ruthlessly curious, embrace progressive failure, and do what you love. When you do what you love, people will love what you do.
Okay.
Yes.
Read it again, please.
Be ruthlessly curious, embrace progressive failure, and
okay,
do
so
what
I'm going
you
to
love.
stop you there. So be ruthlessly curious.
Yeah.
Always look, always explore.
Always.
Always.
Because when you stop being curious, you stop learning. And when you stop learning, you stop growing.
Yes.
So you need to constantly be, out there.
Even after your matric exams are finished, and even if you're not studying further, carry on learning.
Yes, definitely.
And the next one, embrace
progressive failure. So I think that speaks to that point that we had earlier about failure and, how that can actually lead to you being successful. So failure is not necessarily bad. It can be good in this case when it is progressive.
Yes.
It means you going from point A to point B because of that failure.
But Thomas Edison said that he didn't fail, let's say 99 times. He learned 99 times of how not to do something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And the next piece says, and do what you love. Because when you do what you love, people will love what you do. And I think that last bit is the best, because you won't have to go through life having to convince people of yourself or anything that you're doing, because you love what you do, and people will just naturally attract to that.
Yeah.
And
I think it's difficult when you're writing exams to think of the passion that you'll have in your future, because exams feel like, but they do lead you to that what you love. Yes.
Again, it's about having the end in mind, because if it's your passion you're after, this is just a little hurdle you need to get over in order for you to live out your passion. So definitely.
And passion's contagious. If there's anything we've learned being in the business world for as short as we've been in it, is that people want passion.
Yes.
When you're passionate, it's contagious. We don't want people in the office who are going to drag us down. We spend almost our entire lives at work. We need to love what we do.
That's true, And I mean, at the end of the day, we are all in the business of changing lives. I mean, we as Vodacom are not just here to be Vodacom. We're here to make people smile, but we also want to change people's lives, and it's very hard to do that if you're not passionate about that. So passion is everything.
It's more quotes. More quotes.
Mine is by Eckhart Tolle, and it says, "The past has no power over the present moment." So just whatever happened, it has happened, but it holds nothing. It will not hold you back, and it holds nothing to what is currently happening, the present, the now, the moment.
You have to actually think about that in order to apply it, though, because you can say, well, you know, my dog died a week ago, and now as a result, obviously tragedies will affect you.
Yes, they will.
But if you think, okay, it happened in the past, but I need to be here in the present,
In the now.
I can actually commit myself to doing that.
That's true.
I think
Yeah.
sometimes we underestimate how powerful our minds are and how in control we actually can be. We can choose.
Yeah, that's true.
We can choose to be present. It's not easy. You have to make that choice many times in one day. But we can
Yes.
choose to say, you know what,
that's
I'm going to put
exactly
these things
it.
aside and focus on the now.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can choose.
Especially with studying.
Yeah.
Like you have one bad hour where maybe, you know, your friend was distracting you on your phone. And then, but the next hour is a new chance to do something
That's
new.
true, yeah.
Take a
Yes.
conscious decision.
Yes.
that's
I'm going to turn my phone off
Yeah.
and give it to my sister to hold for me for the next hour so that I'm not tempted to turn it back on again.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Quotes?
My quote is, in order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure.
Beautiful.
And it is so true, because you won't get where you want to get if you're constantly so scared of failing. I think one thing that we forget is that we don't need to be embarrassed of our failures.
Yes.
But what we need to do is to learn from them and be able to pick ourselves up and not let them discourage us. Because when you know that you want to succeed, by all means, let it be that willing of you to want to succeed be bigger than you even thinking about the little failures. Yes, you'll fail now and again, but when you're able to embrace your failures, to see that I did this and this wrong and learn from it, then you're able to actually reach what you want to reach at the end of the day. So it's important that we want to succeed more than we are so scared of failing, because we will fail now and again.
Yes.
But that won't stop us from getting to where we want to get eventually.
And not everyone's fail mark is a 30%. Some people, 60% is a
Exactly.
failure. And some people, 10% is a failure. They're just hoping to get... Yeah, so know that your failure is your own personal benchmark. Don't measure yourself against other people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. Especially if you have the ability to achieve so much more, but then you choose to measure yourself next to someone who does not have the same ability or potential. It just gives you permission then to perform at a lower level.
Yeah.
It's be all that you can be. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. And the next one says, describe some of the sacrifices you and your family have made to further your career. And that's, by career you mean further, or I mean, further who you are today and where you are today. So not just job. Go.
Yes. For me, I think one of the sacrifices my family had to make was that in high school they had to send me off to boarding school because my mom, my father was ill and my mom didn't want me to carry that burden. And for her, that's a sacrifice she had to make. And for me, when I got to high school, I had to make sacrifices in order to not have hers be in vain.
So
So, yes, so I had to work harder so that her sacrifice was for something.
yeah.
And it was for my results and my achievement and my growth.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know my mom took a bus to work so we could go to the best school. So she didn't drive. She didn't buy a car. Yeah.
So growing up, my parents, we grew up in informal settlements, as I said before. So my dad lost his job sometime when I was in primary. So most of my schooling career, we had something, I don't know what, it's like a spaza shop. It's a little tuck shop where they sell, and that's how we actually made an income to live and to actually pay for my education. So the general income was about sometimes 200 rand per day or something like that. But I think that's the sacrifice they did. We were 6 kids and one in varsity. We were all in different grades, and it was quite a lot to manage that small amount. And from that, for me, it's what made me want to work hard. And I think it's important that when your parents sacrifice so much to send you to school, let us not be ignorant of what our parents do for us and the little that they put into our lives. And give back. Remember, see the struggles that your parents go through. Don't be naive to just live along and want to live off your parents forever. So I think it's important that as much as our parents sacrifice so much for us, let it be you who says, Mom, it's fine, you can retire early. If she maybe works as a helper somewhere, and be able to then sustain your parents the same way that they sent you through school. So I think it's important that we acknowledge the sacrifices that our parents do for us.
That would be amazing to do.
Yeah. And know where you come from.
Yeah,
definitely.
Understand that where you are now is because other people had to make sacrifices for you.
That's true.
That you didn't just get here on your own.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember when I was considering quitting my degree. And I remember, I actually wasn't considering, that's the wrong. I was in a place, people who've gone through actuarial science will understand that in June of first year, half the class goes. And at that point, everyone's looking at their marks and thinking, can this actually work? Will I pass? And I remember telling my friend that it's not an option for me. Because my mom went through heaven and hell to make sure that I got here because I told her that this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. And I feel like that's an important thing, that if we know where we come from,
Exactly.
we know it makes it so much easier to give ourselves that strength to keep pushing to where we want to be.
That's true.
Because we understand where we're from. And I think that's the true value of the past. It's not so we can linger there and hurt ourselves,
Let
and
it motivate you.
Yeah, that's
it's so we can glance back
that's true.
and then look forward.
And I think most of us are very fortunate to not know what it means to go to bed hungry, to not know what it means to not have books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's things like those we take for granted. Yet a lot of people, our parents, our families, maybe they're making a lot of sacrifice. I mean, my parents are very humble civil servants, and both of them, they've worked long hours. I don't know, it's a bit of a norm for me to not see my dad when I go home, because he works night shift, he works this, he works that. But I just think, it's work. But we forget that actually they're making those sacrifices just so I can have a better life. And I don't know, it's small things like those we take for granted. And some people don't even have that. And I think just taking a moment, like Noma is saying, to look back and say, someone else doesn't have what I have, doesn't have a parent who can work at night just so they can have, they can bring in a little bit of extra income, just so I can take the bus instead of walking from here to the taxi every morning. You know what I mean? So there is a lot of sacrifices that have been made in our lives.
And those moments, when you think about them, they make it so much easier for you to choose between going to a party and studying.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
That's true.
Because you know that they made sacrifices, I need to make sacrifices.
And it's
So
not
profound.
about what they think of you, it's about what you think of them when you make those decisions.
Yes.
That's true, yeah.
That's quite a mind shift.
Yeah, because honestly, we are our biggest motivators and we are our biggest destroyers.
Yeah,
We have the choice.
Yeah.
that's true.
Shall we see what the next topic is?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the next one, it says, what are the positives and negatives of stress? Do you think stress is a negative thing?
It can be.
Okay.
Yes.
Why do you say can?
When you get stressed, I think the natural reaction would be, like they said, fight, flight, or freeze. So yes. So when you freeze, when you're stressed, you can't do anything. You are sort of paralyzed.
Yes.
You can't study. You can't think past now and all the negative things you're filling your head with, and all the worst case scenarios. So that's when stress can be very negative and it can depress you, because all you're thinking about is I'm probably going to fail, or worst case scenario. And that's how, for me, it can be a negative thing.
Okay, so how can it be a positive thing?
Well, in a positive way, I think stress can also motivate you to get things done. So we spoke about procrastination earlier, and how
the elephant in the room.
Yes, and that big monkey that keeps growing and growing and growing. And I think that does stress you in a way. And for you to actually meet the deadline or to make sure that you actually accomplish whatever it is that you're supposed to, you need that bit of stress to just push you and ensure that you actually do get it done. So it can be good in that sense, but it can also be bad, like you were saying.
It can be a motivator. Stress can be a motivator.
Yeah.
You know, okay, this is what can happen, the bad thing.
Yeah.
Let me do something now that will just ensure that thing never happens.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it can also just be that for you. It can motivate you.
Because for me, I also think it's also how you handle the stress.
Yes.
Because for me, I remember when I was in matric, I was stressed because most of the year I spent the whole time thinking, okay, I'll get to it eventually, I'll get to it. But for me, when the stress came in, when it was like 1 month before the finals, it actually was more like a wake-up call. If I hadn't been stressed, I probably would have relaxed until it was like, I'm going to write next week. So at that moment, it's when I realized, okay, I have 30 days. How do I plan it? So it's up to how you handle it. Because sometimes it can actually get you to just structure it. And then if you handle it well, stress can actually push you and get you focused.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you see it.
I think it's also what you learn from being in stress situations. For instance, being in a stressed situation can teach you to plan
Yeah.
ahead, and it can teach you the value of planning. So and that's helping you avoid stress later on.
Yeah,
That's if
true.
you choose to learn
Yes.
from the stress.
Yeah.
And it's a choice to learn from the stress.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Because you're saying, I do not want to find myself in that position again.
Yeah.
So I will learn from it and I will do
Yes.
better.
And there's a lot of bad things, obviously, that come out of from being stressed. I mean, we've learned about loss of weight. You know, all
no,
those-
I don't have that problem.
But I mean, there's other people that actually
Or
have
gaining weight.
or gaining
There we
weight.
go.
You know what I mean? So there is quite serious
Anxiety
aspects of
attacks
it.
from
Yeah,
stress.
but like I think if you do know how to manage it, and if you know how you can, make sure that it works for you, it will actually help you in the long run.
Yeah. Well, Dylan, shall we move on to the next slide? And we're talking about the positives and negatives of stress. And beautiful Table Mountain. It says, what was your routine 24 hours before an exam? And this is our last question. So we're going to go around and find out what your routines were. If something is possibly not a positive routine, please will you say it? Just so that people won't follow you down a dark path. But I am assuming that most of you have pretty good routines if you manage to end up where you are. Shall we start on this side?
Well, 24 hours before an exam was revision. And so after going through all the chapters and
All the chapters.
yes.
Yes, and you sit with your textbook and you go, okay, I'm okay with that, I'm okay with that. No, how
Not
do you do
selective
it?
studying. Actually, well, for a few days or weeks, depending how difficult
Yeah.
the subject is, you go through every chapter, just familiarizing yourself and actually studying the chapter and say, okay, I know this. Well, not I know this, but okay, go through the actual
Yes.
chapter. And 24 hours before, it's going back and doing the difficult things that you actually didn't get.
So
But-
when you went through it previously, you highlighted sections that you would go back
Yes,
through.
that you need to go back to. And also going through past papers. That has been, well, one of the best things for me, going through past papers, those 24 hours. Because sometimes they actually do come up again, these questions. Or you
Okay,
actually
do. Yes.
yes,
Learn it.
learn that, okay, this question is asked in this way. I could probably answer it in this way, and I understand this concept in this way. So, yeah, just going through past papers and actually just revising all the material. Yeah, and tons and tons of snacking.
Snacking. What kind of food though? Because these theories that Coke and sugary stuff stop you from thinking.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I probably shouldn't have done all of that.
Think of the marks you could have got.
Imagine.
Yeah, so I snacked on everything that I could come across, and that probably was pretty bad. And yeah, but I think now, if hour to go back, I'd probably snack on something. And I think nuts and all these healthy things, water, tons and tons of water, and and also sleep.
Sleep?
Yes. Cross-nighting on the day before the exam, that is not a good idea because you will be frustrated in the morning, you'll be tired. So, I would not advise that.
Your brain doesn't function well without enough sleep. And teenagers need 9 hours sleep a night. Yeah, and if you calculate that, it's from like 9 to 6. That's most teenagers don't go to bed at 9.
Get enough rest.
Yes.
Yes. I think before I go into my 24-hour routine, adding on to Gia's point of sleeping, it's very important. I took a risk. I was going to write accounting and metric, and I had to cover so much. I was like, I'm not going to sleep. Studied the whole day until 4 a.m. in the morning. I fell asleep in my exam, and it's metric. I was asleep almost 30 minutes in my exam, and I think the examiner was like 1 hour 30 minutes left, and I realized, oh my god, I've only done 2 questions, so it can go wrong. Fortunately, like what we said earlier, study smart. So I had studied those sections that I knew had so much marks, so I went through those and I did get a distinction in accounting, although I fell asleep for 30 minutes. So it's important to sleep. You do not want to, worst case scenario, I could have woken up 30 minutes left and you've missed the whole exam, and there's no redoing it. So it's important that you do not, you're going to get tired. We're human beings. We cannot just push all the way. So for me, I think the best routine that you can do, make sure you're studying towards the exam, and the 24 hours before, revise and scale it down, your chapters, put it to key points, try and remember it instead of like the last day should be looking at something, try and remember what you studied. That way you actually already asking your brain, so when you go into the exam you're already prepared for those questions that could be asked. So I think the best thing to do 24 hours before is revise, not try cover the whole chapters, because it can go absolutely wrong.
So you wouldn't study anything new at that point? Anything that you haven't studied is forgotten? Rather, if it's new and it doesn't count, know your paper, whatever you're writing, know which sections are important. Because then if you've started with the important subjects, if by the last day you haven't gotten to those ones where it's maybe 3 marks, 4 marks, then you can afford to revise the ones that are important. Then when you go into it, you stand a better chance of getting higher marks in those and performing well at the same time.
And that's why it's good going through past papers.
You
get that knowledge.
24 hours. What do you do?
Okay, I do not touch a book after 5.
In the afternoon? Okay.
I'm not revising. I'm literally just sleeping.
Okay.
Or in bed.
And if you're writing the exam at 2 o'clock the next afternoon?
Then probably 8 p.m. the night before. The next day I could read a few summaries. But I feel like our brains can get lazy. Okay, well, this is how my brain works.
Yes.
That I've got an intuitive brain. If I know the concept, I'll probably be able to apply it. If I don't know the concept, then it's not going to make any sense. So for me, theory was the most important thing. And that's why what I did is homework.
So you studied using homework throughout the year?
I did homework throughout the year. I did homework. So when the exam comes, I literally, because every time I do my homework, I create a summary for that chapter.
Okay.
And then I study, create a summary, do homework. I know the chapter now.
Yes.
So when I come back 2 weeks before the exam, I go through my summary, I do a past paper, and then I sleep.
Okay.
One day, I didn't do that because I hated stats. Hey, this thing of hating subjects. I hated stats, man, because I didn't like my lecturer. Imagine. Look at how silly that is. And then my first test, I had to end up freaking out, and I was stressing, and I ended up studying until 10. And my brain doesn't work after 5, hey? Unless I nap. The mistakes I made in that paper, I didn't fail because I didn't know. I actually could have just gone to sleep and passed. I failed because I made stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
You need to be sober for your exam. And that's why
that also helps.
You need to be sound.
No alcohol.
No drugs. You need to be sound. You need to have been rested. And I feel like resting throughout the year helps. It's important. For me, I can't be getting 6 hours of sleep every night and then I get to the exam and I sleep 10 hours a day before and be okay. I have to be sleeping 8 hours consistently. Then exam. Okay.
Last one.
Sure. So is this 12 hours or 24 hours before?
24 hours.
24 hours before.
Yes.
definitely going through past papers, trying to see what I know or don't know. But I must tell you that when I say going through past papers or revision, this big term called revision, it doesn't mean going through a book trying to spot questions and see what's going to be in the exam, because that doesn't work. I've done that.
Okay.
It doesn't work. You'll spot a few things and you'll get to the exam, and guess what? None of them will be in there. And then now it's awkward because it's you in the paper and you don't know what to say.
Rather know too much
than too little. Definitely. So I think it is about being very smart about how you are going to study, planning your time well in advance, so that when you get to that 24 hours before, and I do this now, or I try to do it, so you just go over what you have studied already. Don't try and take on new stuff or any of that stuff, and then I think what's really important is to know your study routine. Know whether you need to be sitting down now 24 hours before or in bed. Probably not in bed. I don't do bed because then I'll just pass out. Yes, but it's about knowing how you do it. I'll just sit down, go through the past papers, and when I feel that I'm ready or when I feel confident, then I will take my 8 hours of sleep, wake up the next morning, and I'll be ready to go and write the exam. And I think another thing, especially in matric, I never wanted to get to the exam early because I will get there and there are people still revising or little circles of revision, and I never wanted to be part of that because that would just stress me out. And you get to the exam and these people have been saying all these things and you think you don't know things. So I stay away from those pre-exam circles. And even after the exam, I know some people are not comfortable wanting to hear about what answer you had, versus what I wrote.
It makes you stressed.
It really, really does. So I think it's important to watch out for those.
Yeah,
and
don't get sucked in.
Definitely not. And I think, studying, the good thing about studying is that you can keep improving on the methods that you're using. Because learning is a lifelong thing, lifelong learning, and you can keep improving, keep understanding yourself. And I'm in that process. I'm with my honors now, and it
never stops.
Never ever stops.
It shouldn't ever stop. You should always be learning.
That's true.
And I think it's important to always remember how you learn, because I actually have a friend who didn't. The studying, the reading a book doesn't work. What works for her is for her to hear you. So what she would do is she and her group of people who learned like her would go and literally read the notes aloud and talk about them and talk about them and talk about them and talk about them, and then they'd pass because they learn by hearing. That's when they absorb things. So it's about knowing yourself as well. And not being, I feel like we get tempted to fall into the trap of feeling like just because the majority of the people learn this way, that's the acceptable way. Be willing to, when you find your style, whatever works for you, to be true to it, because
it's magic when you find that style.
When
you suddenly realize, I'm this person and this is how I learn, and suddenly I can do work.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Like for me, it was so simple. I realized I'm a long-term person. Like short-term, I can do it and pass, but I won't remember it after a few days. But if I do it in homework, I'll never forget.
We have actually run out of time.
Really?
And so, so if you would like to say any messages of encouragement out to the matrics, you're welcome to do that now. Please go ahead.
I would say that remember that this part of your life is just the stepping stone. It feels like matric is the be-all and end-all right now. These exams are the worst thing that could ever happen to you. But just remember where you're going and study hard and smart at this point in your life. And just remember as well that there will be the knock on the door for you. Those marks will be the knock on the door for you. So make sure that you do well. And don't get discouraged by a bad paper. Don't let it put you down. Continue. Just move on.
Yes. New day, new chance.
Yes.
I think for me, I just want to say it's not too late. You might not have been performing during the year, but you can still pull it off. And I think for me, what's important is going into an exam, even if it's 24 hours before, make sure that you set goals for yourself. Tell yourself you want to achieve this, because that helps you to push towards whatever mark you know you can achieve. Put it there for yourself. Make sure that even if it means aiming higher, at least then if you don't get it, you'll get something that's good enough. And whatever you do, study smart. Make sure you know your sections, know where you're going to get your marks. Just plan for it. Strategy is everything. And you'll get it right. Make sure that you know, I'm going to this. Even if it means you're going to write the paper from the back to the front, whichever works for you, but get it right. And don't be discouraged. You'll get it right eventually.
I'd just say don't be afraid. Because I once heard someone saying fear is like tormenting yourself with what could be. It's not what is most of the time. It's usually what could possibly be. So don't be afraid. It limits you. It does nothing for you. Very little fear will ever help you. So just relax. Do what you can. Work hard. Dream big. Sky is the limit, guys. The world is. It really is your oyster. And doing well in these exams will go a long way in helping you.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to just say to the matrics of 2014, all the best, hey? Like, really go out there and give it your all, because, all you have is this moment. And remember that you have support all around you, everywhere, at home. Everybody has their eyes on you, and they're supporting you. So just go out there and make it count. And just fall in love with learning, really, because it doesn't all stop here. After this, you have your whole life, really. So lifelong learning is the key, and Vodacom really supports lifelong learning. And I'd really like to encourage every one of you who'd like to join the Vodacom Discover Graduate Program to go for it, because they encourage learning. They encourage you guys, the young people of South Africa, to be leaders and to really just experience everything, your passion, everything that you've ever wanted. So all the best.
Thank you.
I think if I can just add the last thing.
Yes.
Believe in yourself. Not everybody's going to believe in you, but you need to motivate yourself. You need to be your biggest motivator. It doesn't have to be somebody who says you can do it. Tell yourself you can do it, and only you can get there. So believe in yourself. Believe in yourself is everything.
Thank you very much, ladies. This has been a wonderful hour. I really feel blessed to have met you all. Good luck to you, matrics. Hope you have a wonderful time in these exams. Remember to enjoy them and make the most of them. Goodbye.